Lawrence.
Hey, you found it. This is the Radio Lawrence podcast where we discuss local art, politics, and community. Thanks for joining us as we host conversations with the people that make up the fabric of our town. We've got a really important episode for everybody today. Joining us in studio is Cody Wingfield, who has tasted 27 plates of biscuits and gravy around town. Cody, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So glad to have you here. Before we get into biscuits and gravy, I want to talk about your personal history with Lawrence. Are you from here? How long have you been here? Tell us your Lawrence story.
So I'm an Easter baby. I was born in '88, the day before KU won their national championship. Needless to say, my dad was pretty happy. He had a son, and then he got to see the championship win from KU. I grew up in Big Springs outside of Topeka, and after graduating high school, I lived in Topeka for about a few years, finally moved up to Lawrence around 2013, early 2014, and I've been here ever since. I've become an official townie.
What was it like growing up in Big Springs? I've always driven through there and thought, wow, people actually live here. There's like 6 houses or whatever.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the joke is if you drive, you blink, you'll miss it. I was just on the outskirts, so if you're heading to Lecompton, I lived kind of in the off-road. But I loved it. Every time I drive back through the area, it's very nostalgic. It's very brings me back to the days when I was a kid. And it's crazy because now that as an adult, I think of all the things I did when I was a kid, running around by myself with no supervision. I can't imagine having a kid and doing the same thing. Like, where did he go?
He's out there somewhere. I told him not to come back until the streetlights came on. So let's start the conversation about biscuits and gravy. First of all, why biscuits and gravy?
You know, I was thinking, I don't actually remember why I chose biscuits and gravy, but my mom makes really good biscuits and gravy, and it's really kind of like a American staple. It's uniquely United States. It's especially Midwest, down south. It's a very breakfast comfort food. And I was just like, you know what? It'd be kind of fun to try every plate there is. That's a good side quest. Let me try that.
I absolutely love it. I'm excited to have this conversation. So the first thing you've brought with you your list, and let's run down all 27 plates in no particular order. Tell me all the places you have eaten biscuits and gravy.
Oh, man. So this is no particular order, but here they are. Cellar Door Cafe, Barker on Mass, Rock and Honk at the Oriad, The Big Biscuit, Wine Dive Kitchen, Dempsey's, Hy-Vee Market Grill, Johnny's Tavern, Eldridge Hotel, 6 Mile Chop House, First Watch, Torch Goodness, Set 'em Up Jacks, The Roost 2 times because they had 2 different types, Wheatfields, Ladybird Diner, Merchants, Great Harvest Bread Co., Global Cafe, J. Wilson's, Morning Fog, Z's, Espresso Divine, Sunflower Cafe, Milton's, Stanley James, and to top it off at number 27, Uplift Coffee.
Awesome. This is so fantastic. So when I first was alerted to your escapades here, I saw your post in Live Love Local Lawrence. Shout out to Amy Brockman for her wonderful page and all that she does for our community. Hi, Amy. I saw your post, and you had posted, hey, I tried 26 plates of biscuits and gravy, but you also had photos of each plate. So how thoroughly did you document all of these?
I guess the most I did was I had a TikTok page, and I posted it up in increments of 6. So beyond the Lawrence locations, I did venture out into like Eudora, Lecompton, and Ottawa, but I did increments of 6, and I posted it on TikTok, and that was kind of the extent I did. And then once I gathered most of my research, I went to the Lawrence page, and I was like, hey, am I missing anything here? And I guess there was more than what people knew existed. So
not only are you not missing any, I'm missing some. That is incredible. So you documented each one with a photograph, maybe not necessarily a lengthy review per se.
Not too deep.
Cool. Did you rank them?
So it's very hard. I feel like ranking sometimes can be controversial, and I hate sometimes ranking every single one because some people might misread that as, well, these others must not be good. And sometimes, to me, it's almost splitting hairs. One might be higher ranked than the other, but it's so minimal. But there are, obviously, in my opinion, a few that, like, wow, these are exceptional. And I've had to get them more than once.
And so you've brought with you today a top 5 ranking, right?
Yes.
Let's discuss the criterion upon which you at least loosely base your rankings. I mean, it's biscuits and gravy. On its surface, sounds like it's a biscuit with gravy on it. How complex can it get? But there's a lot of variation in that world between,
surprisingly,
what kind of biscuit was it? What was the gravy like? Was it thin, thick, a lot of sausage? Was there other stuff? So what kind of things were you thinking about as you made this top 5 ranking?
Funny fact here, during the January through April, I was actually doing a cut as well. So I was on a diet. And you wouldn't know this because I'm posting up these plates of biscuits and gravy. And so there's this thing where if you want something to taste good, the more hungry you are, the better it tastes. But essentially, beyond that, texture played a lot into like how good something was, and the even ratio of like biscuit and gravy and the seasoning and savoriness. And you think like, wow, biscuits and gravy is just wet flour and dry flour with a little bit of other stuff in between. Why is this so gourmet? But like you said, yeah, it would be the biscuits, whether how much sausage or whatever else was included in it. And sometimes it was just like, you know what? I feel really happy after eating this. I feel good. Yeah, this is great.
The X factor.
Yeah.
So you said you were doing a cut. Are you a bodybuilder?
I'm not necessarily a bodybuilder. I've had someone say, hey, you should compete. But like every winter I do a little cut. I think it's good for my self-discipline. And oddly enough, food is so much more pleasurable when you're restricting it. It's has a lot more meaning. It's very meaningful. It's like, oh, I don't get to have this as often. And when I do, I appreciate it so much more. So, and the winter's cold. There's not much to do. I was like, you know what? Every winter I do a little 2-3 month cut, and it's kind of good for my mental well-being and keeping my discipline. And then after that, I just maintain.
Right on. Okay, so we've sort of established a framework here. We've labeled the field. We know which 27 local establishments are in contention. Let's get down to it. Give me your top 5 biscuits and gravy in Lawrence, starting with number 5, finishing with number 1.
So number 5, and like I said, this was very hard to narrow down. Some people might be like, why did you add that? Number 5 is Morning Fog. I liked Morning Fog because they had a unique take on it. It wasn't just biscuits and gravy. They had a fried chicken biscuits and gravy, along with your sausage gravy, and they had breakfast potatoes and chives that they put on top. So it was like, oh, I get a fried chicken with my biscuits and gravy? All right.
Where is Morning Fog?
Morning Fog used to be the old McLean's location on 23rd and Iowa.
Oh, okay.
South on Iowa.
I didn't realize it wasn't McLean's anymore.
Yeah, it's Morning Fog Bakery now.
Gotcha.
I highly recommend it.
I hear that. Number 5 out of 27 is pretty solid work. All right, number 4, what do we got?
So the 4, The Roost, and they had 2 plates. They had a sausage gravy and they had a mushroom gravy. The mushroom gravy is good, but the sausage gravy would be what I gave number 4 to. And to me, it's like great biscuits, seasoned, savory, texture. It's just like, and on the weekend, it's just a great way to like start the Saturday or Sunday off. It's like, oh, this is fantastic.
All right. Number 3.
So 3, Sunflower Cafe. Actually kind of surprised me because I don't think they've had that cafe for too long.
Relatively new, yeah.
Yeah, because they're just known as the bike shop, but their biscuits and gravy, like, I think it had like bits of onion and some other stuff, but it's another one of those like just hearty. It's full. It's texture of the biscuits. It's just like one of those X factors where it's like, man, this is really good.
All right. Bring us into number 2.
All right, number 2, I would say it was Barker en masse. And the biscuits and gravy there reminded me of like traditional like grandma's cooking. My mom's, it's just like, just comfort, like full fluffy biscuits, savory gravy, lots of sausage. And it's one of the, it's most of these are all X factors. It's like, just tastes good, and I don't know how else to explain. It just makes me happy, and I like being happy, so.
I absolutely love 1900 Barker. The things that those folks are able to do with breads just astounds me every time. I'm like, how do you get it so flaky and good? Like, I understand that it's a temperature and butter factor, but it's just like so expertly executed that I love that
They've
place.
got it dialed.
Yes, absolutely. All right, without further ado, we are down to the number 1 plate of biscuits and gravy in Lawrence, Kansas, according to Cody Wingfield.
So my number 1 pick, and I think this one is no competition for me. That's not saying that none of the others are great, but
It better be my favorite.
Merchant's Pub and Plate.
Whoa.
So
Let's hear it. Give us the rundown.
Not only is it a great plate, they have cheddar chive biscuits and sausage gravy, but like they serve it in a iron skillet, and so like the aesthetic appeal of it looks great. The biscuits are great. It's all great. Texture, love it.
So I'm going to have to get out and try all of these now because my personal favorite didn't even make your top 5, which is really astounding to me. I adore Wheatfield's biscuits and gravy.
See, I would put that in my top 10.
All right, at least it's in the top half, I guess. Man, it's my favorite. I love their giant homemade biscuits. I love that gravy. It's perfectly seasoned.
Oh, it's great.
I've tried to rip it off so many times, and I can't get there. And I put chicken stock in it, and I'm like, no, that wasn't it either. And I mess around, and I can't do it. So I just go down there and buy some. So we've done the 27 plates of biscuits and gravy. What's next for you? What are you going to do after this?
I'm going to keep my eyes open because there are some obscure, off-the-wall suggestions I've had from people. So like the Lawrence Hospital, their cafe has biscuits and gravy. So I thought, like, all right, maybe I'll continue the side quest and try to find the rest of the obscure places. Because to me, I wanted to get places that are like just, these are establishments meant for you to go to and eat. But I was like, okay, someone said the Lawrence Hospital has really good biscuits and gravy. So let me maybe go in there one day and try them. But beyond that, so I'm actually doing a breakfast burrito right now. So I've already visited, I say 5-8 places. Honestly, I think if I had to, it's hard to say this because like I love both, but breakfast burritos kind of fulfill a better range of macros. You get your bread, meat, and it's not as heavy. So if you want to get to doing something, especially in this hot weather, biscuits and gravy is going to weigh you down. Breakfast burrito kind of gives you that Popeye energy, and you're ready to go.
I love it. So how would folks reach out if they wanted to advise you on where you might find either an obscure biscuits and gravy or to help you establish your list of breakfast burritos?
That's a good question. I should probably establish a better way to communicate because Facebook has been the most convenient way to communicate, especially on the Live Love Local Lawrence. I actually had someone message me. I forget, they were from an hour away, and they were suggesting, hey, come out and try the biscuits and gravy. I haven't done it yet, but I'm like, oh, this is cool. I didn't expect that. I guess right now it would be Facebook. That'd probably be the most convenient way to reach out to me.
Okay, you just accept friend requests from the public? I don't know if you know, but this is a pretty famous podcast, so you might end up with like 10 or 15 new followers from this thing.
I'll take it.
All right. So you're gonna check out the breakfast burritos. We would love to have you back to have that conversation. In addition to biscuits and gravy and breakfast burritos, you also have a YouTube channel called, very simply, A Chocolate Bar Review Channel. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be and what you do.
So back in 2020, back in July, I'm always full of ideas, and I was like, I need to start something. I want to start something. What is a quick turnaround? What is something I can start right away, and it's not complicated? And I already had some previous knowledge with chocolate, craft chocolate, bean to bar, and I was like,
why?
Why?
Sorry to interrupt you, but why did you have previous knowledge with bean to bar craft chocolate?
I think what started it, are you familiar with, I think you don't see them really too often in stores. Their brand is called Bosges. They had like a bacon chocolate bar.
Okay.
I think Brits carries some of their stuff. But before I even started the channel, I was doing some research, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I was like, there's a lot of content I can do with this. So I decided, you know what, let's start it. It's quick. And before I knew it, I'm down to like 650 videos. And I got you a bar.
Oh, how sweet.
So the unfortunate thing about craft chocolate is back in 2024, there was a crisis with the crops, disease, low yield. So prices for craft chocolate has gone sky high, and that's not to include just the economy itself with the price of food and everything going up. So I kind of picked a pricey side quest to do stuff, but I like craft chocolate because it's more than just dark or milk chocolate. They do a lot of experimentation, going beyond what is traditional. So the bar I got you, this is from Fjak. They are out of Norway, and this is a Norwegian brown cheese milk chocolate bar.
All right.
You think cheese and chocolate doesn't, what? Cheese and chocolate? But are you familiar with the brown cheese in like Dillon's? I think the brand's called Ski Queen.
No.
So the cheese is like, I think it makes the best grilled cheese sandwiches. It's kind of like a fudgy, sweet caramel note to it. And I think it's made from like the excess whey and cream of cheese. Don't quote me on that. It's a process that makes it unique, but I love it. So this brand uses it because it's obviously from Norway, and they made a milk chocolate bar with this caramelized brown cheese, and it is amazing. So you can try it, and maybe you can say, hey, on the next podcast, what you thought of it. But yeah, so there's so many brands and so many different types of chocolate. It's even gotten to the point where I've actually started to make my own bean to bar chocolate. And I noticed that Lawrence doesn't have any bean to bar chocolate companies. Topeka has Hazel Hill. Kansas City has, most notably, Christopher Elbow.
Those are really good chocolates.
But Lawrence doesn't have anything. So I've been kind of not debating, it's more of a procrastination because it's a long process. It's a lot of work. You know, you roast the beans, you have to dehusk the beans, and then to conch, that's like a minimum of 24 to 48 hours for the beans to turn into paste, and you add your cocoa butter and your milk powder and whatever ingredients. But like in craft chocolate, it's so fun because there are I gave you one that has cheese. There is a maker also from Europe. I believe they're Naive Chocolate, and they have a bar where they have beef in it. I think what they did is they had beef, turned it into powder, and put it into the chocolate, and you don't even notice it. It's crazy. You think, oh, beef and chocolate, but oddly enough, some of these combinations are really good, and it's kind of, you just have to not think about it because it's not the norm, but it's real fun. So I started doing it in 2020, and I have no intentions of ever stopping. I'm going to stop until I just don't feel like doing it, but there's so much out there. It's just like the biscuits and gravy is an adventure in Lawrence. All these brands are from all over the world, whether it's Singapore, Japan, Mexico, places in Europe, North Africa. There's all these thousands of companies doing their own take on chocolate. And it's like, this is really cool. You see how each area has their own unique take on it. So, for example, that Norway was using something that is very Norway-like. There's others that have added mushrooms, fruits that are native to their area, tea, matcha. I mean, there's some really weird ones such as sea kelp. I could probably go on and on, but it's really fun.
Where did you come across all this knowledge? You just laid down like a quick and dirty chocolate bar recipe, and I just have questions firing off in my head. You're like, yeah, you take the beans and you roast them, and I'm like, well, hold on, where did you get the beans? Second of all, how do you know that this process even is how it works? Like, did you just decided one day, like, I'm interested in chocolate and started learning about how this all comes together?
Yeah, so after eating so many chocolate bars and then finding so many different ways to make it, and I say make it as in introducing different flavors, because the process is all relatively the same. So there are a couple online stores where you can buy your cacao beans. So what I did is I bought the beans, I got what is called a conch, and there's these two kind of stone wheels. You have to roast the beans, and it's all a very delicate science because too much heat or too little for too long, too less can expose the flavor of the, kind of like coffee. Too much of one thing can make it too dark, too bold, too light. It's a science I'm still trying to figure out.
And you're just roasting these beans in your oven?
I did, and then I actually bought a roasting machine.
There you go.
And so you roast them, and what sucks is the process is so long, which is kind of what has stalled for me. But after you roast the bean, there's like this little paper-thin husk, and you have to take the husk off because it's really not edible. And after you do that, then you have the bean, and so you have to break down the bean into smaller pieces for it to conch. And then the longer you conch it, which is the two stone wheels grinding it down, it breaks it down into a velvet-like consistency. So the more it breaks the chocolate down, the more smooth, the more velvet-like.
Okay. And so that raw, I mean, I assume there's probably a name for this velvety paste, but that's where you get like higher percentage. You know, if you buy a dark chocolate that's 85% cacao, you're starting with this velvety stuff that is 100%, and then you are diluting it from there, and that's what that measurement means?
So yeah, let me clarify. So yeah, you add the beans and the cocoa butter. So cocoa butter still counts as chocolate. The cocoa butter is just the oil from the bean. So when you get white chocolate, the cocoa butter is still technically considered chocolate. There's that idea of whether white chocolate is real chocolate. It still is chocolate. It's just not the cacao mass. It's just the oil, the fat. But essentially, when you have a chocolate bar, the percentages are based off of how much anything else that is not chocolate is added to it. So if you have an 85% dark chocolate bar, maybe the 15% is just sugar or whatever else was added to it.
Incredible. And so you've started this YouTube channel. Have you reviewed any or have you done any chocolate production videos on there? Full disclosure, I have not watched all 650 chocolate bar reviews.
I don't expect anyone to do.
You might not be surprised to hear that. Have you put any chocolate creation content on there, or have you reserved that channel strictly for its namesake, a chocolate bar review?
It wasn't until just this year where I was like, you know what? Not that I'm not putting effort into this, but what if I actually stepped it up a little bit more? Because mainly I consider, because I don't actually do a full-on review as in an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. I feel like it's very difficult and all the brands are trying to achieve different goals. Ultimately, it's to have you or I like it, but the goal, someone might be making a single origin 90% dark chocolate bar with beans that are from El Salvador, while someone else is making a 45% white chocolate bar with Norwegian brown cheese. So they're trying to achieve two different goals. So I feel like rating them is difficult. I consider myself more like a DJ who plays a song. I give you the song, you might like it, and if it's up to you to maybe, well, I like that song, I want to listen to more of it, or I want to see what else this artist or this brand has to offer. And yeah, that's where I'm going. But in the future, I have thought about maybe even having guests or doing production videos where I go behind the scenes and actually revealing a lot more than just a simple guy with sunglasses eating a chocolate bar.
And do you always do those at the lake?
Yeah, I do most of them at the lake. I do them outside. I like the idea of doing it outside because usually a food review or anything product related is always done it inside. And like the outside, the nature, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background, and I like it. I've always wanted to do a travel or an adventure channel, like national parks. So this kind of meets halfway, adventuring outside, being like a little kid, and having a chocolate bar.
I love it, and I love your zest for life. Your joie de vivre, as the French would say. It's all fantastic. So something else that I've learned about you as I have been following your Facebook ever since I discovered that you ate 26 plates of biscuits and gravy is that you are a gardener and that you garden, if I may, with the same sort of eccentricity that you seem to approach biscuits and gravy or chocolate bars. And I mean that in the most endearing way. I in no way am I using eccentric as a pejorative. But one of the gardening exploits that I've seen on your page is that you grew a shock of wheat in the corner of your garden, and you were going to try to make a biscuit, perhaps.
Yes.
Very appropriate. How'd that go?
So I have a whole found new respect for wheat growing because before modern agriculture, this stuff had to be dealt by hand. It is a timely process getting each of those wheat berries off the heads of the wheat, and I have not even gone through half of the wheat that I've harvested. It's gonna be a long process. I think it took me an hour just to get through like a little plate full of wheat heads I snipped off. But
you just like sit down and cut them and pick them and
yeah,
until you don't feel like it anymore.
Yeah, and it's so much work. I'm like, geez, no wonder this was so expensive 100, 200 years ago. But I think this is a good shout out because Lawrence, where I garden at, Lawrence has a community garden program called Common Ground. And so my garden is in a vacant plot at 13th and Pennsylvania. So they turn that vacant lot into multiple little plots for people to use. And I have 2 plots that I rent in that vicinity. And speaking of the eccentricity, I like growing the non-traditional stuff. Like if I go to the store, it's always an orange carrot. It's the same type of watermelon or the corn. I want to have stuff that I've never had before and the spice of life. So cucamelons, are you familiar with cucamelons?
I'm not.
They look like grape-sized watermelons, and they taste like cucumbers with like a small hint of lime. They're by no means like blueberries where you're like, oh, this is so good, but they're just kind of a novelty. I think they go good in a salad. But along with the wheat, I grew what is called strawberry corn. It's these small cobs that are very deep ruby red, and they make really good popcorn when you let them dry. So this is kind of a seed, pun intended, that's been planted. I don't have a lot of land. In fact, I don't have any land because I live in an apartment right now. But the goal, before even getting a house, if I find a good chunk of land, I will acquire that land before I think about buying a house. And I will go hard as hell on growing a bunch of wheat, corn, whatever, and maybe the wheat will go to biscuits and I'll start a food truck. Actually, it's still in the back of my mind, maybe doing a biscuits and gravy food truck. I think that'd be really fun.
I support it.
The problem is my mind is always going, and I'm like, oh, this sounds like fun. Like I hate sleep sometimes. Like the act of sleeping, sure, it feels great, but the fact that biologically I require 7 to 8 hours, like why? Why can't I go into the universe and go into the software code and tweak it to maybe instead of 8, maybe 2 hours? That way I could do a lot more stuff.
I absolutely love it, man. So that's pretty much everything I've got for you in terms of a pre-prepared interview. We're going to move on now to the lightning round. And in the lightning round, I will present to you 10 questions that are germane to nothing. You can answer them in as few or as many words as you see fit. No explanation is necessary if you do not desire, and no follow-up questions will be asked. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Hit me.
What is your favorite annual event in Lawrence?
I really love I think it's in March, the Kansas Craft Brewers Expo, or the other one is in November. It's at Abe and Jake's. Both of them are the call.
Friends of the Call.
Yeah, that's really fun. I mistakenly put a bid on the cheesecake thinking I wasn't going to win. I was like, I showed a friend this is how the bidding system worked, and they had a cheesecake on auction. I was like, yeah, $70. The lowest price was $65. I was like, $70. I'm sure someone will outbid me. No, I got a cheesecake still in the freezer.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
You know what? I'm going to say it is a sandwich. It's more like a cousin, though, because it's not a traditional sandwich. But I say, like, if you had, like, a species, like if a sandwich was a species, a hot dog would be kind of a subspecies of it.
What is the coolest neighborhood in Lawrence?
I really love East Lawrence. It's old, traditional, got a lot of unique characters, architecture. Everything's more artsy. I like it.
What is the best soup?
Oh, boy. I'm a gun to my head. There's a lot of good soups, but a good tomato soup with a good grilled cheese. Oof.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
I wish I could turn on invincibility because I would love to go to space. And you can't breathe in space, and there's a lot of radioactive material from the sun. And if I had to pick a second power, it'd be able to go the speed of light because I think it'd be really cool to go to Mars and be there in like 6 hours.
What is one irrational fear that you have?
I think about sometimes sleeping and a bug crawling into my mouth.
What is one song that you turn off immediately?
Oh, man. I used to listen to the radio, and then I kind of stopped because it felt like they just played the same song. I love classic rock, but sometimes they will play the same song, and I'm like, all right, I've heard this in the movies. I've heard it in the commercials. Yeah, I'm switching. No particular song, but there's a bunch of them.
What is the furthest you've ever traveled from home?
Oh, man. So I love doing road trips. Every year I do one big, massive solo road trip. The farthest I've traveled would be all the way up into Olympic National Park up in Washington.
What is your favorite place in town for carryout?
Carryout. Ooh, that kind of switches based on a mood. For a while, I was, they're no longer open, but I really loved Indian Palace. They had Pizza Palace. Mm-hmm. I loved their pizza, and I'm sad to see them gone, but that's where I used to order a lot.
When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, I wanted to be a Power Ranger.
All right, Cody, you have successfully navigated the lightning round. I really appreciate you coming to speak with us. And do you have anything that you would like to say as your sign off?
I love Lawrence. I love the attention that it got with Algeria here in town. I felt like it was a great moment to expose how great the town is and everybody that is here, all the different things that we have to offer, whether it's the culture, the food. It's a small town, but yet has big city vibes at times. Perhaps if I stop procrastinating, keep a lookout for maybe a biscuits and gravy food truck or a chocolate bar brand. I already got the name picked out. If I get this rolling, the name of the chocolate company will be Hearty Filled. So I'll see if I can get that rolling.
All right. Thanks so much again, Cody. I appreciate you coming here to talk with us about biscuits and gravy and all of your general food adventures. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Remember, this is a listener-supported program. If you are so inclined, please head over to radiolawrence.com, make a donation to the show, or buy one of our T-shirts or tote bags. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and tell your friend. You heard it first here, Radio Lawrence.